Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining in today. So today's session is about service design. So before we, dive deep into this topic, we have a really, important announcement, something which we are very, very excited about. So what we want to share with you is that we are opening up an offering for everyone, whoever is joining the webinar today, and also whoever is part of the community. So we are opening up portfolio reviews for everyone. So it is something which you can check out. So we'll also paste the link in the chat. So it is basically help you all, whoever has their resumes and portfolios ready. You guys could share your work with us. We have an entire panel that we have put together. So we all will basically interact with you and check out your work, ranging from industry design to visual communication to interaction design, service design, even industrial design to also space design, architecture, fashion design. So if you're into all these fields, if you're just getting into workforce and you want to really understand how your resumes and portfolios are working, you can go out, check out a link. We'll be really happy to have a look at it and give you feedbacks on this. So no, it's just not for jobs. Anybody who's just looking to basically upskill. So it is for everyone who just wants to get an opinion from anybody who is in the industry. So anybody who is working in the industry, they want to get an opinion from them and just get your work checked out. You can check it out. Here's the link. Go check it out. We have a limited period during which we are going to offer this, and this is especially for anybody who is in the webinar and in the community. So here's the link. You guys go check this out. That's all for the offerings over here. I'm going to now move on to what we are gathered here for today. So let's just get started on that. So firstly, again, warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining today's Evolve session on service design. We are really excited to host co-founders of Idiom Circular Services who bring a unique hands-on perspective on how design shapes systems and communities. Our first speaker today is Nandini Kulkarni with a background in spatial design. Nandini works across service design, strategy, and branding. She uses system thinking to explore how smart designs can influence behavior and drive real impact. Joining her today is Abhinav Agarwal. He's trained as an architect, and his work focuses around alternative construction and sustainable approaches, with a strong emphasis on creating solutions for rural communities, and he extensively practices business design. So, together, they bring incredible mix of architectural, strategic, and business design thinking. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming two very cool designers, Nandini and Abhinav. So guys, the floor is all yours, and we really look forward to a very, informative session today.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hi from me and Nandini. Uh, let's get started. We'll not beat around the bush. I guess it's a good dinner time for all of you, so I think not keep you waiting. Yeah. Yash or Sonam, can you just confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's get started. Hi, I'm Abhinav. Nandini, she'll also be speaking a lot with me during this webinar. So we are Idiom Circular Services. We are technically or historically, we are almost a 4 decade old design company. We were pioneers with a lot of design solutions in India in business design, namely service design, some parts of environmental graphics, and we have been part of some integral projects across India. We are an ecosystem of diverse professionals, and we operate as a platform cooperative, which is a unique system where we do not work with employees per se, and we harness all the design skills and our projects with different types of consultants all across different geographies and design sets. We offer comprehensive solutions, and service design being our most integral and pioneering solution in India. Like I said, we design across disciplines, different industries. We really like to explore, and that's what helps us also work with different clients and different types of data sets to offer unique blends of design and business in solutions. So how do we basically do it? Ideally speaking, this is our design process. We immerse a lot of time insighting with our clients. The first phase of the project, or the pre-production, like they call it, is full of absorbing, researching, understanding, literally diving into the project and all possibilities, right from primary and secondary research to a lot of design techniques, which we'll tell along the way. We do that. We get on from the inciting. We do the ideation, which is a very heavily loaded phase where we do a lot of co-creation, a lot of design development, and a lot of mood boarding, and then we go on to the implementation phase. So this is how we simply divide all our projects. So, coming to the question of the hour, what is a service? All of you did have some really interesting answers in the icebreakers. It's nice to see just, when we put some words out, the kind of thoughts it prompts. So a service basically is something that is outcome driven and not output driven. It usually has a very tangible impact, but a very intangible sort of product in its sense. It's something we all use, but we do not own at all ever. And it's something that's simple in hindsight, it's useful, obvious, and it sort of uplifts and enhances our overall experience. So let's look at service design from an example. This is a very classic sort of case study about two coffee shops. And why would you choose one coffee shop over the other? They're offering the same set of products, the same pricing. So let's see what the difference could be. Yeah. So let's look at coffee shop A. They've designed an app. They've done their whole hired developers. They tested the app. They digitized their offering, added delivery, and released their app to the consumers. Consumers were just like Swiggy Zomato kar lenge, not a big deal. So that's where their journey sort of stalled. Let's look at coffee shop B. They first looked at who their consumer is and sort of kept the consumer at the center of everything that they would do. They looked at their product, they looked at that experience through the eyes of the consumers. And there are a bunch of ways to do that. They did not stop there. They included all the stakeholders, whether it's suppliers, whether it's baristas, wait staff, manager, the founder, the back end, all of that, and created solutions that would, impact everyone or sort of had everyone co-create solutions with them. Some of it did realize as a mobile app. There was that component to it. But that's not where their journey ended. That was just the starting point for them. They did build an entire front end. They added some new products, interior refresh, tech. The staff was upgraded with tools, training. They did a cool, cool outreach programs. They also built backend. It could be system support, CRM, evaluation, real-time evaluation metrics to see, what's working, what's not working, delivery systems, logistics, and so on. So they sort of build an entire system to deliver the same product, which is coffee. So service design is that sort of layer of design that will let you add this unique experience so that while your products might be same as some 10 million people in the market, your experience can be different and unique. And service design, because we keep customer at our heart, it becomes a place, it becomes a sort of output that is more consumer driven, it's more people driven, it's more emotional driven, and hence it creates a whole sort of very dynamic relationship between the business and the consumer. And yeah, so coffee shop A, of course, had their product. Because of this kind of intervention and this approach, they went ahead and had a whole bunch of other things like book exchange, trivia, coffee tours, brewing master classes, and so on and so forth. And they basically not just acquired consumers or people, they forged relationships with their consumers. For them, the coffee shop became their sort of place or their thing to go to. Yeah. So, like we understood, coffee shop B really dived into the consumer's heart, as Nandini very well put. But how do you do that? How is your approach to service design? So it might be filled with a lot of jargons. You might have field where talked about a lot of technical things, front and back end, what happens. So what's your approach to service design? It's starts with as simple as that. It starts with customer obsession. You have to be thinking about who you're delivering to. Your customer might not be literally the person who's purchasing your object. It's everybody who uses your service one way or the other. So it starts by understanding their needs, which are sometimes obvious and sometimes they can be unarticulated as well. When we talk about needs, they are not just functional needs that we think as designers, which is providing quality, quantitative needs, variety. It extends further to emotional and social needs. Like, for example, when you're purchasing a car, You would think of its mileage, its specs, how it looks, its color, all of those. They are the functional needs. If they're going to fit in the, it can also extend to the fact if it's going to fit in your parking, etc. But seldom do designers or brand engineers realize that things go beyond that. There are emotional needs. Will this car suit my status? How will it look with me when I'm enjoying my time with my friends on vacations? How is the car going to use me in networking? How is the actualization of the car and going to happen in my life? These emotional and functional needs also need to be catered together so that they cater to a bigger social need, and that's how you get a holistic solution. That's the purpose of service design. Like I said, co-creation does not just happen through thinking from the customer from all point of view. It also brings co-creating through shared values between everybody who uses the space. It is people who are experienced, which are customers, people who are running the space, which are the staff and the partners, and people who own the space, which is business. We have to think from all of them. What happens in a typical design approach, we cater to one of these stakeholders, but we have to think all of them at once, and we have some brilliant examples on the way how we do that. It of course has to be holistic and integrated. Even though it can seem like thousand pieces happening at once, there are a lot of research, discussions, things, interventions. They can happen at different levels, but they all have to be integrated at once, and they need to look holistic. Once your consumer realizes the complexity of what you're offering, you're not doing your right job as a service designer. It needs to be smooth. It needs to be integrated. What is our method to service design? We take this a little further. We start with a customer journey map. Now, this customer journey or an empathy map is an exciting process, and it takes a lot of time. We imagine yourself if you're going to go to a mall and just buy something and come back home. It sounds like three steps. In reality, your decision, your engagement with the mall or your purchase or your shopping happens right at home when you have chosen a decision to step out, and ends when you have chosen when you have bought something and kept it back at your bookshelf. Thus, the discovery of the store, its banner, line, finding the right book, engaging with the staff person there, looking for the washroom, doing the transaction. All of these are at least 150 or 200 steps. What happens at average on anything that we do. So we map out each and every step. They can lead to very extensive list of steps where we understand their emotions, what they are doing, what they might be thinking. Once we have mapped this out is when we find our actual ground for intervention, and they can be very nuanced. There have been times where we have at least thought of 50 interventions for just five, the inquiry of five. That is how you need to get obsessed with understanding. We do something called a CPD workshop. It is create, preserve, and destroy. This is very simply comes from the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh of creator, preserver, destroyer. We look at what's working. We look at what can be made better, and we look at very scrutinizingly what can be removed. And only then we are left with absolutely working solutions. This is something very unique to Idiom Service. We do something called a value proposition canvas, where we list down all our products and services which exist, which are the functional needs. We discover from the customer's point of view what are gain creators and what are certain activities which are pain relievers. We extend them further and also look at something called delight builders. Now, mapping all of these out are basically ideas that we experience in the service. What gives you happiness? What happiness? What takes away your stress of experiencing, and delight builders. A very good example of delight builder, something that is goes beyond the basic, which might not be something that solves a problem, and it might not be something that also solves brings you extra uh, an edge to what your experience is. This is, for example, when you go to buy vegetables, the free dhania that you get along with it, that was not something that would attract you to buy more. Neither did it solve any problem. It just gave you delight. That layer, that simple layer, is what we call as service design. Extends further to making a service blueprint. We detail out the idea. We think from communication, how the brand is going to speak, how the people are going to experience it, what level of technology they are going to intervene, if they are going to touch the service through tactile interventions, how do you look at spatially. All of these are very detailed ideas. Now, all of this might seem very overwhelming, but when you get in the zone of knowing service design, all of these nuances really happen at once. And this is what makes your design very viable and very versatile to adapt into different streams. Where can service design be applied now? Everywhere, as simple as that. It starts at your home, it starts at anywhere. Talking about home, we move on to our first design case study. This was done in the olden days of Idiom before we moved on to being a platform cooperative network. Anybody from Pune would know of Creaticity. This is a brand which was earlier called Ishanya. It was a mall in Viman Nagar, and it was an exclusive furniture-based mall. When it launched, it had gotten huge response, but within a few years, it completely died off. People didn't have any purpose to go. There was no informed choices that they could go. It was nothing different from just your regular street market of furniture just made into an AC ventilated place. So how do you? So we got the task, and they asked us, how do you then revive this? Can you look at rebranding it? And we said, we went there, one of our colleagues went in a rickshaw, and they were making the first site visit, and they asked the rickshaw to take them to Ishanya. And the first answer the person, the rickshaw wala gave was, "Ma'am, udhar kyun jana hai? Band ho gaya wo mall." And that made us realize it was, even if it was alive, it was dead in the public perception. So we need to really revive the mall. So how did we do it? We made a lot of design interventions. We started with something called curated trails. Now this is back then when this was not common in malls and the amusement services to have this. We created a trail and handed out to everybody. Along with the rebranding of calling it Creativity, we added layers. One of this, which was this curated trails. It worked at different levels. This was a specially curated route that anybody who's just entering the mall would follow. It is a light hand-holding session for the customer to, discover the space really without intimidation. It was an opportunity for businesses to assure some market solutions, assure some footfall across the campus, and leading people at the relevant places. And it was also a very important intervention for us partners. It could bring in more revenue, it could increase business opportunities, and it would lead to more discovery. So this is how the curated trail book looked like. It was a very fun layer, and the idea of it is working at many layers. So along with the QR code, which makes it digital, we have this handy booklet, and the idea of all these interventions worked around what had the highest number of purpose of visit. So surprisingly for us, it was food and mattresses. So we instead of avoiding that, we leveraged that and made people attracted, because if they were anyways coming for this, why not show them where it is at the right place, and it lead to more discovery around the mall. Also, when you're shopping for furniture, you might notice a lot of things at one store, and then you notice something another. So we offered this small place on this hand holding guide, where they could write down, कि Ranka decor से मुझे ये pillow अच्छा लगा था, write the note. So while you're leaving, you have 10 other services, and then you choose what you're going back to. We had some very nice small detailing elements. We had these design interventions where we showed that there's a Make-A-Wish fountain, which is now a public delight where a lot of people sit in the evening. So we really could achieve all of that through great copywriting, design interventions, and rebranding. We extended further, and it made an experiential map in the center of the mall, which showed what's beyond just the typical furniture to offer. What does the playfulness of the mall have to offer? We gave names to avenues, boulevards, streets. We created landscaping, and it just became like an amusement park. What became more exciting is a layer of night view that we added over it. So even in the evening, people really used to engage around it. When they're looking for going to multiplexes, food, this was really a good intervention where they could access the space in non-working hours without help, and it was also a very interesting attraction. It explored, of course, it offered the navigation, discovery, and exploration. We usually think of just searchability as one aspect, but it layers down to many three. And we were really able to enhance all of these. Back then, loyalty cards was not a very common system except for luxury brands. We rediscovered loyalty cards into something called unlimited cards, and this was used to be a subscription services, and it was favorably working over here because it went through from beyond heavy purchases and expensive purchases of furniture to their food expenses, their multimedia expenses. So we really enhanced all kinds of services that one could live, and that's why the meaning of unlimited really became extendable for the clients. We also add layers of detailing. We never left ever detailing. We made even a small braille output on it to make it as accessible. We made different sizes. We extended loyalty programs. We introduced EMI, which was a very unique feature in malls that time. This is something very interesting. What we noticed was, why would somebody come to buy furniture when they are not an architect or a designer? So this mall becomes an opportunity for them to educate, and it would create a great recall value if anybody who learned furniture over here will always remember all their life that this is the place where I learned about furniture. So we created a knowledge hub. Now what happens with knowledge hub is we decided to engage our customers over here, give them information and make them enabled enough to make their own choices. And how did we do that? Through the Knowledge Hub. We filled the places with all the relevant catalogs and materials, and we could talk about what different types of wood, fabric, upholstery, all of those exist. What are the current styles and trends that go? So people very commonly who are non-designers would just use words like minimal, bohemian, and just move on. But we extended behind where they got to know right terminologies. We helped them create simulations for how the furniture would look in their spaces. Of course, there was designers over there present over there who could give design assistance, and we also give them guidebooks to carry. A small gesture from us, a small area dedicated to customers, but the recall value this would leave was immaculate in all of their lives, because they would always go as an informed choice and they would always credit themselves back to learning at Ishanya. So, and it also helped us build a lot of trust for the mall, that they are not just offering good furniture or good design services, they're also going forward and engaging and really serious about their consumers. So they would not sell something that is not important or special. These were few renders and these were some few ideas how we wanted to execute it further. We also looked at deconstructing furniture materials, interactive material walls. We extended the service design aspect further to actually training their teams. So thought of values what all the organizational people should have. That is thinking creatively, taking ownership of their actions, choosing a team over individual. And these are just words if you think about it. So how do we do that? So we manifested this in all the stakeholders, right from the watchmen to cleaners to salesmen to the director of the company, all of them learning together different values. So that reflects in we gave them tips on how to have their attitude around the space. What do they wear? What are the tone of voice and personalities they need to encourage? What is they should have the knowledge of the campus. They extend beyond just basic namaste and hospitality to actually greeting and taking well advice about their customers. We did that at the brand level and service level. And whatever all these manifestations happened at brand level were organization facing, and whatever happened at service level were customer facing. And at once, we could solve problems at a multi-level layer. Now, all of these small interventions you might think are small, but overall together, they offer a really unique experience. And the amount of change that we saw in the next 5 years in the mall of Creativity is something that we were very proud of.
Just to give an example of the result of that service training, um, before when it was Ishanya, if you would enter, the watchman would just be like, Halige, somebody's coming in. You know, they were very nonchalant about it. The CEO was always shut in his cabin and his office, crunching numbers and, whatever. Post this service training, everyone from the watchman and the CEO was speaking the same language. The watchman knew everything about curated trails, about Creaticity, what it stands for, the philosophy. He was very apt in guiding people around right at the entrance. You enter itself with a very positive sort of vibe, for the lack of a better word. The CEO himself also started realizing the importance of, like, he would spend 2 hours on the mall floor every day by default. And if it means staying 2 hours more in office, so be it. But he would, without fault, be on the floor, interacting with consumers, guiding them, helping them, observing, learning, and so on. So yeah, it was a truly behavioral change that we saw. Here, what we saw right now with Creativity was an example of what the outputs or the implemented the service design interventions were. With the next case study with Big Bazaar, we'll go a little bit deeper into the process of how we arrive at these ideas as well. So to give you all a little context, I mean, I am hoping a lot of you are aware of Big Bazaar, but I'll just give you a little bit of context in terms of what the thought process was when it started. So Kishorji, the founder of Big Bazaar, gave his brief was very simple: design a shopping departmental store where me and my driver can shop at the same time without either of us feeling odd about it. So then, we did our own due diligence in understanding what it means. We broke it down, so on and so forth. It resulted in what the in the name, which is Big Bazaar, because we're all very familiar with how bazaars work, and we go to the bazaar. कहाँ पे जा रहे हो? बाजार जा रहा है. कहाँ से लाया है? बाजार से लाया है. यहाँ का बाजार, वहाँ का बाजार. So bazaar is a very important part of our lives. So we sort of wanted to continue that. Over the years, though, we realized that a lot of the potential or the expected target audience is not coming to Big Bazaar. A major chunk of it being the younger generation. So we sort of started by asking ourselves, okay, why will someone come to a store? So this was the study started in 2015, went on till like late 15 and went on till 2016. So by that time, a little bit of online shopping and all had become a part of our normal life. So everyone knew different kinds of channels. People were used to going to malls, they were used to ordering online, they were used to going to the local kirana stores, and so on. And because people had access to all these different types and channels of shopping, they were already in a lot of control in terms of where and how they're shopping for whatever they want. And all of this made comfort and convenience in shopping a very fundamental need. कि अच्छा ये सस्ता है, अच्छा है, but is it convenient for me to buy? Like, is the buying process convenient? That had also started becoming a comfortable sort of fundamental need. So that brought us to a question that if people are already so comfortable, what is it that can make them drive out in the traffic and come to Big Bazaar? And how can we as Big Bazaar make their visit worth it? It's on us as well to get them to our stores. So what can we do? So for us, there were two aspects to it. One was, can we create an environment where they can briefly disconnect from the life outside? They can immerse in a very participative sort of world of shopping. And the other side of it, to deliver on this brief, was for us to create a multi-sensorial, multi-emotional sort of shopping experience. Only then can it truly become participative. So we did a 3I process. We started by doing research. We looked at consumer journey. So here you will see a very small fragment of multitudes of consumer journeys that we did, where a lady wants to buy carrots for her salad. She's entered the shop, she's picked a shopping cart. You can see here, the different things at different points in the journey, the different kind of things that could be going through her mind. She's looking at the list, she's holding the list, she's also be like, oh, budget ke upar nahi jana chahiye. Acha, this is too many things in my hand, I'll just remember what I have to buy. uh, Now she's come to the vegetable section. She's picked up. She's like, okay, the pre-cut ones look old. Let me pick the fresh ones and get them cut from the cutting guy. Then she's like, oh, yeah, plastic bag hai, it's so much waste. And so this inner monologue is also going on. Now she's sorting and picking. There also she's thinking about, okay, ये वाला carrot अच्छा है या वो वाला carrot better है? How much should I buy? Is this going to be enough? Do I need anything else? Oh, this guy in the front is also taking so long. So all of this is going on in her mind. Now she is sort of reached the counter where she's getting her vegetables weighed, and all that whole process is going on. And then she's like, oh, the staff is also grumpy. They're not looking approachable. She forgot something, like, oh God, I have to do all of this all over again, which is again frustrating. um so many steps have gone in where she's still weighing and getting the vegetables that she needs. Now after all of that, she's also like, oh, but I also have these other things. I have to put meat also. I don't want things to touch each other. Let me reorganize it. So the aisle mein khade she's reorganizing the cart. She's now looking for the billing, that it's not too crowded. She sees something, she's like, oh, that also looks nice. Should I buy that? Should I not buy that? All of this is going on. And by the end, at some point in the journey, she's just completely done with it. She's like, I just want to go home. And people are taking a lot of time and I'm not able to go home. And by the end of it, she's gotten her things, but she's not completely happy with it. That's not what she wanted. But she's like, you know what, never mind. This is too tedious of a process. Let's get going.
Yeah.
So
Nandini, could
this
you just explain what the colors are? Somebody asked in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the green that you see here are from the point she's entered the store to the point that she's reached the vegetable section. The red is all the steps that have happened in the vegetable section, and the blue is after the vegetable section. Orange is towards the billing and exit. The customer journey, out of which we've just picked a part for the purpose of this conversation, I mean, that was like a 200, 300 step journey. What you see is a very, very small fraction of it. For us, the consumer journey starts, sometimes it starts from the moment of how they come across the brand that we want them to interact with. Sometimes it starts from the moment the thought occurs, ki, oh, I need this or I want to buy this. And then it sort of goes on from that point in time till after they're done shopping, till they reach home and all of that. So we have a pre part of the journey, the during the journey, and post their core journey. Now we had all of this. We had, like I said, there were multitudes of such journeys that were mapped, and a lot of opportunities and gaps were discovered. These were put through a couple of tools. CPD is what Abhinav was talking about earlier, the create, preserve, destroy bit. And with the value proposition canvas, I think somebody also asked on how do you identify opportunities. This is a great tool for that because customer jobs may all the things that this lady would have gone through, whether those are functional jobs like standing in the line, weighing, or emotional jobs where like, oh, I'm like, she's tired, but she still has to go through the process. That's still an activity for the consumer to do. They're all identified here. And then the pain points and gain points are distilled out. So we know, okay, what are the things that are not working and what are the things that are working, which we can take forward into figuring out where our interventions will be and how they will be and so on. With all of this, these were some of the ideas that were sort of shortlisted. So we had some very fun ideas like proxy shopper and biker shopping bag and occasion-based shopping assistant, a drive-through, a goodwill ambassador, jukebox, because they always had they had that big bazaar radio and all that. So we're like, okay, why can't people put in requests and listen to their favorite songs while they're shopping and so on. So some of them were fun, some of them were very functional in terms of discovery zone, price matching, bundling, pick up, drop, shopping assistance, value billing, and so on. So we, sort of had this entire thing mapped out. Out of this also, we used these service blueprints that you saw earlier to detail out each idea. So if a shopping assistant is the idea, what are they doing for you? What are the activities the assistant will do for you? How is the communication happening? So how is the consumer finding out about the service? Who are the people involved? Are there any tactile artifacts? Is there a technological component? So all of this was detailed out for each and every idea that you see here. And then we went into implementation. So here we identified certain ideas that we would want to start the prototyping with, get some feedback, and then move to the next phase of implementation. For all the services, there were some types of communication that was also developed so that people will know that these kind of services are there for them to avail. There were some color guides to differentiate between certain services. So let's look at how some of the prototyping went. The first service, which was the hero service, was called sit down billing. Imagine the convenience of a valet parking and the comfort of an airport lounge all mixed together at the billing counter. At the billing counter, if you've shopped at a DMart or a Big Bazaar or any of these larger places, you know how exhausting it gets by the time you reach the billing counter. You've spent a few hours there, it's crowded, it's messy, it's a very stimulating, overstimulating almost kind of an environment. And now you have to stand in line for God knows how much time till everybody's done their billing because everybody shopped for 3-4 hours, right? And you're just waiting in line, you're tired, you're on your feet still. Sit down billing aimed to solve the billing problem. So we prototyped this with a very specific segment of the target group, like senior citizens, pregnant women, families with toddlers and younger children. So we identified the slightly more vulnerable sort of target group and prototyped with them. The system of it was very simple. Once you reach the billing counter, you take a token, somebody else stands in line for you. They get the thing scanned, and when it's time for you to pay, you go, check everything is in order, and you make the payment. And while you're sitting, you're having a snack, you just have a moment for yourself and you can relax. This is how it was executed in a couple of big bazaars. Now, a couple of things that we did here was in the lounge area, the snacks that were offered were all private label brands. So they were all brands of Big Bazaar. So it sort of became an unintentional promotional zone. So it wasn't in your face kind of promotion. You're just sitting and having some chips or biscuits or murukus and whatever. And they happen to be the Big Bazaar brand. Second, some of the conversations and activities that would happen after the consumer has reached home, which is revisiting the list, thinking of, oh, should I have bought that? Should I have not bought it? Should I still go pick it up? Once you're home, nobody's coming back into the Big Bazaar anytime soon to pick one product. That's for sure. So this space sort of gave consumers that much required pause before their shopping journey had actually ended. And first 3 or 4 months, this one sit down billing area started generating revenue of a small quick service restaurant. So that was a very interesting sort of metric for us to also understand. Now, the other thing from a business point of view, why the metric of revenue from this area is important is in retail environments like these, where you have, which is massy, which is more large scale, you have a certain you have a very high number of SKUs that are, or high number of products that are displayed per square footage. And the usual logic is higher the number, better the sale. And we were the ones who were just like, you know what, hata do sab product ko, hum logo will make people sit here. Which was a very preposterous sort of proposition for any kind of business owner in this area, but we're very glad they took this chance. And we, of course, had our backings with the data and insights. But the fact that people got a pause there directly resulted in revenue was a very interesting behavior to business metric to observe. So service is not just how can we make consumers' life easy, it's also how can we work on business at the same time. Then we had a whole series of services around interaction. We like there was this assistant service about finding help. So we had these lighting lit up poles at the end of each aisle. If you need help, people will come. The assistant will come and find you and help you with whatever you need. So this solved two problems in one go. When you're shopping, nobody is bothering you, and when you need help, you know where to get help. Then you're not looking for, oh, is this staff member, is this not staff member, and all those awkward conversations also are avoided. Star products was again an interesting sort of intervention from our end, at least. When we see somebody else buy something, we're more tempted to buy it. It's called copy shopping, the behavior, and we wanted to sort of formalize that behavior by having these like buttons on different products. So we talk about which product is being sold more, which products people are preferring, and so on. So it was a very people's vote kind of a thing. And these were the kind of buttons that we were proposing. Then there were a bunch of services under this umbrella of we would love your help. Now here, of course, as a brand, you expect, as a brand, you're expected to give a lot to your consumers. Here, we sort of flipped the script and requested the consumers to help us as well. This also created an additional dynamic of ownership between the brand and the consumer, sort of connected back to the building relationship with the brand, between the brand and the consumer. Example one was faulty trolleys. People would pick up these trolleys. If they had a bad wheel or something, they would just keep it in the doorway, pick up the next good trolley, and walk in. The entryway became very chaotic. All we did was introduce another lane, called it the faulty trolley lane, and incentivized people to put the faulty trolley into the required lane. So it helped the staff, it kept the entrance clean. Then was this whole thing of return products. During our multiple visits to any of these stores, whether it's Big Bazaar or, if you go for grocery shopping in one of these large stores next, you could keep an eye out to see all the orphan products you would find in random categories. We found shampoo in the dairy category, we found lip balm in the fruits, and all of that. Why does this happen? We all change our mind, we all pick something up, we're like, okay, we don't want to buy this really. Or we see something else that we prefer more to what we bought, and now we want to return this. Returning something usually fills us with shame. And you either don't want to do the walk of shame, or the place where you picked up that product from is far away and you're not walking so much again just to return a product. So you just want to keep it wherever you get the first chance. So initially we suggested these baskets, but eventually this is what we executed. So in a retail store, there are these very high visibility shelves, or bay breakers is what the technical term for it is. But these high visibility shelves are usually sold to brands because that's a revenue generating model for the store as well. what we did was we picked up a few of these high visibility shelves, kept it with Big Bazaar itself, and made them as change your mind shelves. So we had this bold sort of posters and communication around it, and we encouraged people to change their mind and return products. So it did two things. One was the whole shame part was removed from the equation. We were like, if you change your mind, great. We love that you're changing your mind about what you're buying and what you're not buying. Just keep the product on these shelves. So that part was done. So people became a little bit more relaxed about returning product while they were shopping. Second, it helped the store staff also keep the place a little bit more organized. So you don't find these random products in random categories. And third, which was the most interesting aspect of this was because they were high visibility shelves, and because it would always have a very unpredictable sort of assortment of product, it automatically helped in cross selling. In a store as large as Big Bazaar, even if you want to, you usually end up missing an aisle or two. Or when you see a product, you're like, oh yeah, I always wanted to buy this. Good, I saw it here itself. So it sort of helped people shop better and shop more. So those were these couple of domino effect of this change your mind shelf. So all of this was prototyped and it was time to get some validation. So the framework we used for validation were observation, questionnaire, pre-testing. We spoke to some sales staff as well as consumers. These were some of the verbatims from the consumers that we spoke to. Some people did not notice the paying for help button. Some people felt that it was easy but a little hard to find, or you really had to pay attention to where it was and so on. With the sit down billing, it honestly was a complete hit even from a business lens. People loved the fact that they got to sit in a Big Bazaar. They've loved the fact that they were treated like important people, because someone will come with a plate with a tray of snacks and offer you and offer a beverage and all of that. Some people, of course, only though the haath pakadte hai, they're like, oh, now please add a children's play area also and all of that. So these were the kind of remarks we got. For ourselves and to really understand what's working or what part of it is working, what is not working, we created a metric. So for each of the service, we looked at, okay, how visible is it? How engaging it is? What are the reactions of people? How helpful it truly is, and how easy to integrate it is. With sit down billing, like I said, no surprises. Everything else worked. And given the sort of logistical needs, integrating that service into an existing Big Bazaar was obviously a little bit more challenging. For us, even though we were very excited about the like button and in our heads it was a very cool idea, the metric showed a very different reality, that it wasn't really helpful to anybody. So we knew that, okay, this is not something we need to continue working on. So this sort of gave us an idea of how do we validate our ideas as well. End our monologue here and open the floor for comments and questions.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I think it was very, very informative, and just looking at all the mappings and ideation, you always feel like designers also like this whole puzzle solving. So you pulled
Absolutely.
us back to that on. All right. So we have like a lot of questions for you guys.
Yes.
So, right, Gagan, you can go first and then we can take the chat questions.
Right, just a quick question. I mean, first of all, I think excellent session, some really good insight, and I
Thank you.
revised quite a bit of things. So I have a quick question. I mean, in your data points, how do you measure like a brand space or category space with the floor ceiling cost? Meaning, like today, I think the biggest fight in cities, in big cities, is like how do we make things profitable? I mean, the space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose you get my question.
So I think that's what I was getting at with the sit down billing as well. There are these very widely accepted metrics. Like in mass retail, it is number of products you display per square footage. Because it is believed more products you display, the more it will sell. We proved that wrong with sit down billing. So honestly, while there are these metrics, there is still no one golden rule in that sense. It is very category specific, it is very brand specific, it is also very geography and catchment area specific. So what matters, or how you can find that out, is understand the catchment you're in, understand the segment, like is it a premium brand, a lifestyle brand, a massy brand, and look at not just the products you're selling, but also the value you're creating. With Big Bazaar, with sit down billing, the typical thing would have, like a typical business mindset would be, acha, hum 1000 SKUs hata rahe hai for people to sit. We need to compensate that either the number of products somewhere or the price of it somewhere. But what we did was, we did not do that. We did not increase any of the product prices. We just added products in a different way for people to buy more. So they were eventually spending more, but not for the same amount of things. They were just simply buying more. So it's a very there's no cookie cutter model to this, unfortunately.
No, I get what you're saying. I think what you did, knowingly or unknowingly, but I think you created an experience, and because they say as the consumer hangs around in a place for a little longer,
Yeah.
the options open up. I mean,
Precisely.
like if somebody just comes in and says, "I know what I want," to a customer who says, "Show me the options," and in the discussion they say, "Okay, I'll take this and that."
Yeah.
But if they're coming in with just okay, I want to pick up this one, then there's no hope. I mean, he's just going to buy their stuff and go. So I think
Correct.
that space created that area. Once you're enjoying, your order value, I suppose, is sort of increasing just
Yeah.
without realizing it. It's, I think, what happens once you go to cities like Dubai, which are designed that way. You don't know where the money goes. Got you. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and see now shopping, like the way people shop in Dubai is very different from the way people shop in India. Even the same people will shop differently in Dubai. So knowing how they shop, how are they spending time, all of that will help you understand what these, where these or what kind of numbers will help your particular brand.
No, I mean, I wanted to understand how you're framing that problem. I mean, which you told me, like, because I think there's a huge fight in Mumbai about the retail space and how to make it profitable. I mean, I'm just saying
Yeah.
two types. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the question.
Meenakshi, if you could just hold on for a bit, we'll just take some questions in the chat since everybody is waiting for it, but
Sure.
we'll definitely come back to you. Thank you so much. So our first question is by Sham Rao. One of the first questions was, I'm having a UI UX product design experience, and I want to change to service design. I'm guessing trying to ask, how do you do that?
I think it's about how you would look at design per se. I'm an architect myself. Nandini is somebody who specializes in retail and strategy. None of us have taken a formal course in service design in the earlier bits of our careers. What drives us is the sensitivity that we grow with time. So it doesn't matter if you're a UX designer or not. That is irrelevant. If you have good understanding of research, how to do research, if you have design sensitivity, and you are ready to actually, if you have that think out of the box kida in you, then you can do service design with a very small, just a small reading would help of what the basics are, the techniques are. But you need that inside. It cannot be, the thing about service design is it can't be taught. You need to come up with it yourself. You need to have that snark in yourself. And if you don't have it naturally, it would come with a lot of reading and experimentation. You would have to, dive
Yeah.
into different of layers of studies, right from a different. You need to understand, even if you're not a businessman, how a business would run. You would need to understand what is clean. Right till you know how to clean a table, you cannot think like a janitor. So you need to know all of that, and then so your background does not matter at all. There are incredible service designers who are not even designers in India.
Hey, Abhinav, would you mind if I added a bit? Because I think it's quite a pertinent question, yeah?
Sure.
And I also relate to it because I remember being in that space and I'm wondering what the hell is service design? How do I learn it? I fully agree with you, the answer that you gave, that it's hard to teach. Yeah, it's hard to learn. For me, I would like to share very quickly my experience of how I went about it and what has helped. Yeah, so what I've realized is very quick background, about 20 years in the industry, working with BCG, Global Logic, Method, Publicis before this, done a lot of service design projects as well. I remember the first one where like, oh, okay, I have to do this now. What has really helped is one thing is the soft skills that I would really insist on. Your people skills, your ability to interact with them, to listen to them, and to understand what is it that they're really trying to say. The people you speak with, especially when you're doing service design, you speak to all kinds of people. All of them won't be able to articulate what their real problem is. So to be able to sit with them to understand what their need is and be able to hone deeper into it, okay, it might just sometimes be a body language thing. So you notice everything, especially in person, our interviews are invaluable because then you are able to read fully, right? So, and then, okay, oh, what did that mean? I know you said this, because also understand that when the person on the other side, and there is this person saying, oh, hum aapka service design improve karenge, they might feel that they are being interviewed. And it's not enough to say, Arey, aap chinta mat kariye, don't worry about it. And this is no right or wrong answer. We have that script. All of us use it. But even with that, a lot of them don't get it. So you have to observe everything. Whatever answer that they are giving upfront is not always the right answer. So build your people skills, build your observation skills. Those are the things that help bring up the insights. And then after that, it's all frameworks. Okay, you map that and what you said, and then ability to then convey that, build that into a story, and then convey that to the leadership, because then you are the bridge between these folks and your stakeholders. So how do you weave that into the story? And that's why those frameworks are important, because they help map everything together, right? And then when you're presenting, the story is not the framework itself. You are that bridge who is translating that story to the stakeholder. Two things, not core service design, but ability to sell and ability to listen really come handy in this craft.
Yeah. No,
I think
absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on its head with that. This is something even Yash, Abhinav, Sonam, and I also discussed while we were prepping for this webinar, that it's not about the output, it's about how you get there. And the starting point is asking the right questions. And, like you said, where people say one thing, but people behave quite differently very often. So it's important to listen to them and also observe the same people in those environments to see
Yeah.
where the gap is. And the example I was giving these guys was, you ask me, oh, when do you like to work out? I will, without missing a heartbeat, I'm like, mornings. Mornings are my favorite time to work out. If you check my log for the past 1 month, I've only been going in the evenings. I'm saying one thing, I'm
Yeah.
behaving completely differently. So now that catching that is where the real skill of a service designer lies. And because this field is so beautifully outcome driven, you can, I mean, for me, honestly, it's a mindset. It's a way to design anything, whether it's product, UI, UX, the way you're cooking, setting up your home, it could literally be anything. It's a mindset if done well.
Absolutely. I'll share a very quick experience I had on a service design project. This was for a railway company in Europe, and I was visiting their depots. Right now, high level of safety and compliance in these depots. The workers on the tracks inside the depots will be in full gear. It's quite nice to see, actually. So full kitted out PPE kits, gloves, thick gloves, and they're carrying these kind of tablets in hard shell cases, which is anyways already heavy. The name of digitization, they have made these web apps, which is actually not mobile optimized. So that's another problem. But so we saw them a couple of times that they had to make an entry or change the screw. So they lift their tablets, remove the glove, type it, put the glove back on. Now this happened at least twice in front of us. They do at least 1,000 fixes each worker every day. And when we ask them, so do you have any issues working with the tablet? Oh no, not at all. It's amazing. We love it. Because from their point of view, this was already a step up from what they were used to, because they were carrying previously these paperworks and they had to do multiple rounds back and forth. So this was a step up. But what we observed was very different, and it is a problem. So sometimes also that what they are saying, they might not even be aware. So you have to balance everything. And then, of course, as a service designer, you have to then take a judgment call of what to surface and what to keep it.
Yeah.
I think something very interesting that you said, which also added more value from what Nandini put, like you mentioned about listening to the consumers as the first base point, and very rightly articulated, it's listening and observing. What extends further, which I think we skipped during our webinar while talking about it, what separates us from general service design. If you Google service design very simply, or if you see service design case studies, what happens across the, so service design is something that has come in India in a recent in the last decade or so, that too very slowly. It's something that originated in the Scandinavian countries in the beginning. Finnish and Swedish designers really came up with this idea. So when you see how they started off and what happens in the US and other countries, is they look at service design as simply building a framework, and it is extremely digital in that sense. We were able to manifest it with the, I think it is a blessing in disguise, the project of Big Bazaar that came in, which asked our designers to think beyond retail, beyond architecture, beyond graphics, beyond environment, to creating how do you think of a bazaar and make it into a mall. And it's not something that even Walmart was able to do with how well Big Bazaar works in the context of India, because Walmart doesn't have to deal with density. We have to deal with density. So that layer of taking it beyond intangible into something very tangible is, I think, a very great edge that would also make you a better service designer as an Indian, as a designer. Going beyond just what happens on Google and techniques is what the edge that you get. Okay, you thinking from the point of view of you experiencing the space. That something is not taught, which boils down to listening to your consumers and understanding that what Nandini mentioned are the unarticulated observations. Those would bring out the layer. Sorry, I will let it to a lot of the other people having questions. I think we took a lot of time here. But thank you.
So
I think
thanks.
Pradyumna, you should come to our office and we can continue this at length.
I would love to. Where are you guys based?
Pune.
We are based out of Pune right now.
Pune. I'm in Bangalore, but definitely I'll ping next time I'm there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, this little discussion actually always helps because it opens up and people sharing their experiences. Sometimes you don't think about these things, so always welcome.
Yeah.
So just getting back to the questions. So Sohail mentions this, and I think you partly already answered this. He was just curious that when was this project done? He's talking about Big Bazaar, and I was wondering, is the process any different when it comes to digital services? Have you guys explored any digital services projects as well?
So the Big Bazaar project was implemented or prototyped in 2016. In terms of the process, see, honestly, service design, because you know what I said earlier, it's a mindset, which means it's a way of thinking and a way of doing. So it can apply to digital, it can apply to physical, it can apply to something that's integrated between physical, digital. Tomorrow, if I don't know, maybe a fourth new thing comes in, I'm hoping it'll be applicable to that as well because it's a mindset. Off late, digital, honestly, at Idiom, we try and do less digital work. We like to be creating more tangible sort of spaces, at least. So for us, it's been more of an integrated approach with service design between digital and physical.
Cool. I hope that answers your question, Sohail. If you have any follow-ups, you can put it in the chat. But moving on, I'm going to club two of them because they're sort of related. So Akshata asks, how do you pitch yourself as a service designer when it did not exist or it wasn't common a few years ago? And adding to that, Anushka also asks, also, how do you convince clients regarding certain steps such as staff training or their CEO or hires up to for their involvement? Is it a journey with the clients, with what state and expectations they come to you, and educating them, walking them through by the end of it?
I think I will like to answer the former question.
And I would like to answer the latter.
Yeah, so I mean, it would go multiple ways. When I was doing my first service design project, honestly, I did not know I'm doing service design. I approached it from the point I was actually onboarded as a consultant with Idiom earlier, and I was onboarded as an architect for a organic food cafe. And the other people who were working on it were strategy designers, graphic designer, environment designer. What created a difference is two things. One, when it was pitched to the client, I saw the proposal in the beginning. None of anywhere was the word service design mentioned. It was simply mentioned what is the change that we are going to get to you. And we did not talk about anything of, this change is going to be spatial, or this change is going to be environmental, this change is going to be from a service point of view, etc. etc. It was totally not even output driven, it was outcome driven. What are they going to achieve? What are the stakeholders going to get? And that is when the client says, okay, I want you guys to do this. How are you going to do that? And that happened to conversation. which leads to the second part of it. When we individual different designers were working on it, somehow even choosing the table to making the layout, all of us worked together on it. And that is when I realized that even back then when I was working on, even if you ask me today, like define service design in just a sentence, I won't be able to do it, because it happens at so many layers, so many levels. You will never be able to understand. Tomorrow, suddenly an illustrator might join in as service designer. Tomorrow, uh, a sadhu for that matter might be a part of our project, because if that is the need to be that, because it cannot be defined. It is something that happens on multitude. So how do you explain that to clients? You do not explain to them what service design is. You explain to them what they're offering. And when you have done a good project and they're curious enough, they'll ask you what you did. And then you say, what we did was service design. And that is how it
Yeah.
works. And those clients have come back to us with another project of the same caliber and the same standard, but a different atmosphere. So that is how you would pitch, as simple as that. You would pitch change, not service design.
See, for any client who's approaching a design agency, they are looking for change. Now it's on us as design business people to talk about what kind of change should we aim for, and then how are we getting to it. So that's the kind of conversation we always have. And these are the conversations that are typically had with decision makers. Automatically, the leadership somewhere or the other is involved in these conversations. And until and unless they are convinced, the project never really goes forward, which sort of leads into the second part of the question in terms of, with the service training and all, how do you get people of all kinds of levels to be a part of it?
Okay.
It's honestly very difficult. It's not an easy job. It's not like a char's session hai sab aa jao. It's never that easy. What I have observed in my limited experience though is the skeptic of service design who's become the champion is your champion within the organization as well, because they are a convertee, which means they have from being like ये क्या है ये लोग कुछ तो हमें बात कर रहे हैं, to being like, oh my god, this is the thing we should do. If you have that person on your team, it's easier to get through the rest of the organization. A lot of times, depending on the scale of the organization, the size of the organization, your strategies to involve everyone will also change. If it's a smaller organization, people are more open on doing this together. If it's a large organization where the CEOs are always in their suits and ties, it's a little difficult to break them away. But we have some tricks up our sleeve as well. So this was something we'd done for a meeting with the steering committee at Mahindra Finance. So these are all 40 plus year experience kind of people. At that time, I was 2.5 years old in the industry, so nothing compared to them. And of course, there was the rest of the team. And they had come over to our Bangalore office for a larger discussion and whatever. And there were some points that we wanted to drive home. What we did was in the first half an hour that they entered, we got them to move around the room. We had printed out communication of all their competition and them, removed everybody's logos, printed it in black and white, and asked them कि अच्छा महिंद्रा फाइनेंस का कौन से posters है इसमें से, go and identify. All of them almost got it wrong. But that was not the point of the exercise. I mean, of course, it was like, see, you guys are being very generic, so let's talk. But the other behavioral sort of change of that was everybody's ties had come loose. Their blazers went on the backs of the chair. Instead of sitting like this, they were all, a little relaxed, more conversational. So there are ways to get them to open their mindsets, but it's never easy. You have to be very tactical about it.
Some awesome examples. Good
Hope
out of,
that
you
answers
know,
the question.
yeah, not out of the box, but I don't know what to call it, but smart thinking, I guess.
I mean, there's a
Maybe
very interesting case study for British Airways. They had put out a feeler for people, like agencies, like we want to improve our customer service, customer experience. And back then it was shit. And this agency called the British Airways guys to their office, which is a anomaly for the BA guys. They don't go to agencies come to them. And they were, the first 45 minutes, they were just made to wait in the reception area.
Yeah.
Nobody gave them information. They were asking, they're like, wait, somebody will come get you. After 45 minutes, they got frustrated. They were leaving, and the designers and the marketers and all met them at the gate. Like what you experience is what your customers experience every day. Do you want to change that? Let's head upstairs. That's how, sometimes you have to be a little brash also.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. We'll move to the next question, which is by
Yeah.
Shubhang. She asks, how do you convince rather small size, tangible metric driven brands to take service design seriously? Everyone in India is mostly about chasing cost per view.
I think it sort of keeps coming back to what we've been discussing as well. It is so you have to first understand why that metric is important to that business. We can't just dismiss something because it doesn't fit our whatever our version of the bill is. So you have to understand why that metric is important. When you see here, the customer obsession is starting with the client right now. Then you are once you find out that information as to what's important to them, why these metrics, why they're chasing this, etc., etc., that is when you can use that logic to add more metrics in the same sort of set of measurables. And there, then you can talk about, okay, people are viewing. How many of them are buying? How many of them are reposting? How many of them are talking about us to their friends? Which is something we can't really track on through any of our typical engagements, right? So when you start asking these questions is when you would understand more of the client's mindset. And when you do that, is when you can start having a conversation about, okay, you know what, this is good, but if we look at this as well, it's going to be great. And that's how we typically would go about it, at least.
Yeah. So I think it really doesn't matter if it's big or small. It's just like getting through them if they're actually
Yeah,
convinced about it, and then do it. So it's not that kind of a differentiation. It's just getting through them and
it's
finding that.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. It really, I mean, the scale of it, where they're from, what are they selling, it all matters when you're trying to, it's a part of understanding them. And, as designers, we're very quick to dismiss clients and their opinions for multiple reasons. And as a service designer, at least don't do that.
Yeah.
Understand why they're saying what they're saying.
Right. Okay. So Siddharth asks, really curious to understand how participation as a concept was used or tested in your service prototypes in B2B, in Big Bazaar. Also, what other Indian market space behavior patterns you looked into and decided to instill in this space, like the sitting space or returning products?
So, the first part would be about participation, right? See, but it was mainly observational. We looked at how many people are in that area at that time and how many people are using, or like there were again layers to it. How many people are approaching the service and how many people are using the service as well. So, with that ring for help example, if there are 20 consumers, when you're observing, you can figure out, okay, 10 of them seem to want to ask a question. Out of that, how many people are directly looking for a staff member, or how many people are realizing, oh, that this thing is there and are approaching it? Some of these also result, like, we went ahead and also spoke to a few consumers. It wasn't very quantitative. Conversations are usually more qualitative in nature. So that gave us an idea of judging the participation parameter. The second bit of question was,
What other Indian market space behavior patterns you looked into and decided to instill in this space? Like, did you competitive analysis and what's going
yeah.
on in
So see, typically, especially for the big bazaar, right? The part of the research was conducted in existing big bazaars, and honestly, as I mean, this is just as a good designer, we have to be continuously learning from things that are not designed. Study art, study literature, films, movies, products, people, go to different environments, just expose yourself to new information. That's literally the only way to ensure that you're covering more ground. Because when a project comes in, you don't know where what is going to connect where
Yeah.
at the beginning. So at the beginning of Big Bazaar, we didn't know that acha, airport lounge ka bhi study karna chahiye. Because
Yeah.
it we might have an idea where we might need it. We don't know that at the beginning. So as I mean, it's a daily practice. It's a daily practice, and you have to be obsessed with learning about things that are not designed. Only then will it really come in handy.
Yeah. So what the question is actually more reflective. Sorry, it's more like what did you look into, but it's actually starts way before, like all then you're actually
Yeah.
ideating, put down all your whatever you've learned so far and you put down as an idea that could work. So it's basically pre-knowledge. It's just not only exploring what can be done, but also digging up what are the different ideas that
Yeah.
you
I mean,
put
you know,
into.
to walk you through some of the inner workings of the brain. The sit down billing. Ki, acha, what if, ki, yaar, I wish somebody else, like, can we get someone else do the billing for you? Okay, what are you doing when somebody else is doing your billing? Oh, can they sit? Now, even if we're saying, can they sit? The sitting could have been as if they're waiting at a bus stop. The sitting could have been as if they are in the waiting line at a restaurant. The sitting could have been like a lounge. The sitting could have been like a car. It could be multiple things. So here's where the general observation in your everyday observation also comes into play. Because then you're breaking it down and like, bus stop wala sitting mein ye problem aa sakta hai, ye pros hai. This is this. Then you're able to break it down like, okay, this is more relatable. This is something that is more value driven for us because this is our outcome. Let's go with the lounge like sitting and not the bus stop like sitting.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, before I move on to next questions, I have Meenakshi, if you want to go ahead and ask your question because you've been waiting for a while.
Yes. Thanks, Sonam. Hi, Nandini and Abhinav and Yash, like for everyone for this great talk. I really enjoyed. Yeah. So the specific question that I have is around how do you like so for I see all these as experiments, set of experiments that you do. And once you have conducted experiments, you gain conviction or data to build the conviction and convince users by having command on how to sell, as Pradyum mentioned. So my question is more towards, if I go more one step back, then when you don't have a data and when it's actually an experiment, not a validated hypothesis or something, but a real experiment. So there, how do you get the stakeholders to be aligned with what you think can result into a successful outcome, and the stakeholders like get stakeholder buy-in, in short? Yeah.
So I would like to ask you one thing, Meenakshi. What is data? When you say data, what do you think is data?
So data in the sense like when you have like you're observing things, and when in terms of observation you thought, okay, if I do this, and you see that with doing this what is happening on the other side, and you build collecting all those observations and see a trend that or figure out some patterns, and there where you come up with your either more hypothesis or validation of your tree hypothesis. So yeah, this is how I can define.
The right word you used there was hypothesis. You would, if when data is not available, when you would obviously first thing you do is rely on something with what we call a part of secondary research is other people's data. You would see, you would observe, you would see case studies. Case studies is also data, what other people of the similar field has done. What then goes beyond is, like, I would give an example of what we do as a customer journey map. Now that would we would chart out the map. I would maybe come up with 100 pointers, which are some obvious ones, like entering the store, looking at the reception, searching for something. Nandini might add her own layer of things. You missed the point where they might first look at if they can hang their coat, which I missed. More thinking points would make you more inference points, and the more inference points you have, the more data you have to achieve at those points. So when you assume that somebody is going to go to a reception, with that assumption you build a hypothesis. Okay, here is where I might want to add a layer of hospitality. Now this, you had no data in this place, you had no information, you built something out of thin air, you added a layer of what you know is thinking, and now that becomes automatically a data point. And when you take that to the client, you can validate it with what has hospitality and reception done in other places, to use that. So data is never readily available. Your research and your inciting with the client, the first phase, that is what your data is, and that would only what the client would want to see. I could show 10,000 statistics from McKinsey, Gartner, EY that shows different stage. Okay, like for example, Harvard, there's a Harvard business study about Kumbh Mela where they talk about the number of people that like an app to find missing people. They went beyond. They've skipped. They said, "Fuck the data. We are not going to look at data. We want to try something else." And they built an idea of a yellow balloon. So it used to be a 150 square feet long big balloon that we inflated at every 100-meter junction. And if you lose somebody, you just or if you're lost, you go and stand near the balloon, or you leave them there, and somebody who's looking for somebody would go and take them. The success of this inference and this was far beyond what they even comprehended would happen through an app. Now, your available data failed. What helped was observation data. The whole point that Nandini also mentioned, that your client might say something, but what you observe while they're saying, that matters more. So that would help you answer all of this. That is the data, the hypothesis you will build, which will bring validation to your client.
Yeah, because these interventions are not arbitrary. It's not like we walked in and on day zero we're like, sit down, billing dalte hai idhar. No, it has, the idea itself came out because there were some observations made. Or the faulty trolley or whatever, or any design intervention. It's never arbitrary.
Yeah. So, like for example, all the interventions that you did for Big Bazaar. So I like there were a lot, like there were not few, and
There were a lot more that we did not show also, right?
yeah, even that I can totally can guess it. So also, so with the leadership around who wanted those changes to be done, so like how so you show us, I think you walked us through the happy experiences, and there could be some challenging experiences as well. So like, were they all ready to like go about whichever path you suggested, as Abhinav, as you mentioned that we showed the data or the proven research backed up thing, and got their buy-in. Like, how was the negative sides of it or challenges
See,
that you
with
faced? Yeah.
some people you get the buy-in easily. With some people it also depends how you are pitching your ideas and pitching the whole value and everything. So it wasn't easy to, let's start there. It wasn't like, oh, we're presenting the ideas and we're going to get a gold star for every idea. The 36 ideas have come out of 300 ideas that were generated. So what you're
Okay.
seeing is about 12%. And even out of those 36, six were prototyped. Out of those six prototyped, we're like, okay, this one is definitely not working. So it's never easy in that sense to get a buy-in. There are a lot of tears, bloodshed also. But with Big Bazaar especially, see, we've also been extremely fortunate to have someone like Kishorji, who's envisioned Big Bazaar. He's been a known risk taker, and he's someone who will who will put money on the unconventional. So there has been that backing, but that said, just because he wants it or he says ye karo doesn't mean we're not going to have challenges in actually doing that. In fact, if he says do this, it's the most challenging thing, because then he's seen something that you've presented and he will expect the exact same thing when he walks into the store or wherever. And so yeah, there's always challenges. There are different kinds of challenges. Sometimes it's convincing people, sometimes it's figuring out the logistics, sometimes it's understanding where things are becoming complicated so that you can reduce that. It might be complex, but reducing complications is where the real challenges usually are. So there are always different kinds of challenges with everything.
And how much time the whole Big Bazaar transition could have taken place, like with all the experiments and all the service design
6 to 8 months.
transformation?
6 to 8 months. But within that, Big Bazaar, when we came up with these ideas, we realized that a lot of these ideas will not fit the typical Big Bazaar. It led to us creating a new brand called Big Bazaar Gen Next, which had a lot more the smarter, to say, quote unquote, smarter ideas. So that it had an identity that came in those 6 to 8 months. It had a whole retail design component that came in. The service design was anyway going on. So the first 1.5 months was just research.
Yeah, hats off to you both guys, and I see a lot of great work you have done, and there must be a lot of other projects as well, but yeah. I really enjoyed listening to you.
See, as a service designer, I think this is something we keep saying, or like for us, this is almost like a Bible. But fall in love with the process. For us, service design or as service designers, falling in love with this process, falling in love with being on the field, observing people is the core.
Yeah.
And if the day we stop being excited about that is the day our downfall as service designers will start. So fall in, you have to be in love with the process.
That's from my end. Thanks.
Thanks, Meenakshi. All right. Cool. So I think we're already way beyond our time. So Shubhangi, Suresh, Sri Lakshmi, Falguni, what we can do is we will take up your questions and we'll answer them to you email. If you're on the community, we can just directly even answer you over there. Really sorry to we can't really take up more time than this. Everybody's over here. So we'll do that, but rest assured your questions will be answered. So yeah, I mean, Abhinav, Nandini, thank you so much for giving out your time way beyond what was really needed and shared your experiences with everyone. And I hope all of you really enjoyed this session, found all this really interesting. We really hope, you learned something new today.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you Yash and Sonam for putting this together.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so we put down the community link as well. We keep sharing all the new webinars that we'll be doing. We are going to have an AMS session also very soon, and we'll also invite Abhinav and Anni to have another session. Something a little more. So this was something more like an introductory thing, but we were also thinking if we could have something which dives deeper also. So we'll also work on something, and we'll come back with a another session as well. So thank you all so much for being part of this, and hope you guys have a really, really good night. We've already put the link in the chat for the community, and we'll also share LinkedIn profiles of Abhinav Nandini and also the website of Idiom. Also, it's also, I think we've already done that in the community, but we'll share that again. So you can also connect with them.
Yes. And anytime you guys have any questions, feel free to just message us, maybe wherever you find access to us in LinkedIn.
Yep.
We'll be very happy to answer questions also.
All right. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
guys. Have a great evening. And see you all for the next, whenever we have this next. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Good night.
Everyone.